Oh my god.
We should be live. Let me see. I've got the video. I need to mute the video so it doesn't freaking scream at me in a second. There we go. Yes. Let's see. We are live. Okay. I'm always trying to.
Oh my goodness. We're live.
So welcome to our live stream. It is there's gonna be 3 more people coming: Zach, Vinny, and Brendon.
I think there's only going to be one more person coming now. Looks like Brandon and Vinny have just dropped out.
What?
Yeah.
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 Oh no.
Yeah, but I know.
Well, dear little Brendon is sick, and so they might not make it today. So it might just be old Zachy boy showing up. But hey guys, welcome to our annual live stream. And
happy Pride.
Happy Pride. Yes, and so as you guys know, we like to get together as often as possible. Usually it happens just a few times a year, and we just talk about things. We have a good little round table going on.
Yeah.
So we each have the chat open over here on the YouTubes. So I'm moderating the video stuff, and we're all watching the chat. So say what you want in the chat off to the side. Be kind and respectful to all of us here, as you might know if you've been to my streams before. But ask any questions, get the ball rolling on some conversations, and let's chat. Let's have a good time, everybody.
Yeah, and ask us questions, whatever you want to ask.
It really does help when we have when y'all participate, because sometimes we get off topic, and sometimes we need y'all to kind of guide us back.
Very
long. So yeah, my followers are probably honestly like, Taylor's streaming at not 1 a.m. in the morning. Like, wow, this is new. This is not my goodness. But yes, so happy Pride Month. When's Pride and everything happening in the UK, Bradley?
We have lots of different prides. London Pride is the biggest one, and that's on the 7th of July, I think. And then we have Cardiff Pride in August. So they're all over the place.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay. And then we have Brighton Pride, which we had Britney Spears at last year. So that was interesting. Yeah. All of the prides.
All of the prides.
I mean, I have mixed feelings about that. Let's start there. How do we feel about celebrities, massive celebrities kind of taking over Pride? Because I have some feelings.
That's honestly a really good question. And I have some feelings about that as well. Because a lot of people are some people are the gays that love Taylor Swift are freaking out because of her new song. The gays that hate Taylor Swift are like, and there's that.
Hey,
welcome.
I'm trying to set everything up. Just keep talking. I don't.
Yeah. Okay. Come back to you.
Yeah. Well, Bradley just asked how we feel about celebrities kind of taking over Pride. And I don't know. I think like Taylor Swift's new song, she said something about shade and not throwing shade never made anybody less gay or something. I haven't listened to the song, so obviously I'm not an expert on that. But it's just a good example. And nowadays you do see too many companies throwing a rainbow logo or throwing out words about how they support the community, and they don't. I'm trying to think, what's the blood donation service? They've been trying to get some kind of pretend like they support the LGBT community. Meanwhile, we can't donate blood.
Right.
So I definitely have strong feelings about too many companies and too many celebrities trying to gain fame from our month, from us celebrating not being as oppressed as we once were.
100%. We had this whole scandal with this new sandwich that this store in the UK released called an LGBT sandwich. And it's a play off of a what's the one lettuce, tomato, bacon sandwich? Whatever.
Yeah, a BLT.
But they weren't donating any money to like any organizations or anything. It was just an LGBT sandwich, which meant nothing.
What the
I
heck?
was at this cafe the other day, and they also had an LGBT sandwich, and that was donating to an LGBT charity. And I was like, yes, that's great. That's fine. Like, you know, if you're going to do something.
What does the G stand for?
That is a great question. I want to say like guacamole, like
What?
lettuce.
Lettuce, bacon, tomato, and guac?
I guess. I don't know.
Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, bud.
Okay, I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm good. I'm here.
Oh my
Where's
goodness.
Vinny and Brendon? Or is it Brendon or Brandon? Brendon.
It's
Brendon.
Brendon, but I call him Brendon because I met him. But Brendon is sick, and so Vinny's going to get him medicine, but they don't think they're going to make it today.
Well, shit.
I know.
Yeah, I know.
Alrighty, hold on. Let me catch up on that group thing. Are we on a new question or are we on the same topic? Because I didn't hear the last topic.
Oh, we're on
Either or.
celebrities and companies involved with Pride. And
Yeah.
like, do you feel like big
Celebrities,
celebrities?
I don't see any problem with celebrities doing it because I think it's a lot better. But I think too many companies who've never shown support before are kind of bullshitters if they're hopping on the bandwagon now.
My issue with the celebrity in the case of Britney Spears and Brighton Pride was that it became a Britney Spears concert. Everything that was Pride about it was no
Well, that's
longer
going to happen
Pride.
with any headliner that you're going to have.
Yeah.
Or straight. It just depends on their star power, I guess.
Yeah. And then at Manchester Pride, they had, I think, like Ariana Grande, and they charged like £100 or something just to get into Pride. And so then it was like, it really was just the entire Pride just became an Ariana Grande concert that most people couldn't afford.
Yeah.
And it was like, what didn't
problem
feel.
with that one really was because I remember that because my roommate and my brother are both like beyond obsessed with Ariana Grande. And the problem with that was like Ariana Grande was like, these tickets should not be this expensive. And the private organizers were like, well, you're Ariana Grande, so we're going to make bank off this. And it's like,
Right.
greedy. It's greed because I know Starkville Pride, we have a drag show every year when we have our Pride, and ours was like a month and a half ago. And when we do normally it's like a $10 cover to get in the bar, like the normal bar cover just to get into the drag show is fine. This year they charged $25 a head. And so like the turnout was probably like 3/4 as good, but it was just because the organizer of the drag show got greedy. It was like, I can profit off of Pride. And all of the queens were pissed about it. Everybody that went was pissed about it. And it's just people are getting greedy and using Pride to profit.
100%.
Good.
And I don't think it's
they're using Pride as
Yeah,
a popularity thing. Who can be the biggest ally, That's
right.
Like, you're the biggest ally, you're going to get more attention.
Yeah, for sure. I think, most of the time I wouldn't blame the celebrities. Like, I definitely don't think that, none of that was Ariana's fault. It's just a shame that the organizers, made that choice.
But I think they're smart enough to know, though. They're on Twitter and they can see what's going on. So if they see that actual gay people are having a problem with it, then why don't they amend something? Well, I don't know if she did or not. So if she did, correct me. But fix it and say, hey, okay, these tickets are too pricey for your Pride. Well, then, let's scale that back a little bit. They're not dumb, so it's not. Just I mean, it is. I mean, it's not just their management; it's them too, I think.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah.
And then Michael said that he agrees with Zach on where he stands with the company.
Where's Michael typing at?
He's typing
on Twitter or in here?
He's typing on the YouTube chat.
Okay.
All right. Do we have any questions? Questions.
Probably that question. Michael said that's just the same for straight people. They're capitalizing off our sexuality, and I can agree with that to an extent for sure. Like I definitely think nowadays profiting off of being gay is a thing. I mean, but let's be honest, as YouTubers, I don't know if any of us would be here if we weren't gay. I think to an extent it really does. Like, sexuality is more than just sexuality nowadays. It carries weight.
Yeah. Cardiff Pride last year was literally like everybody there was like, it was like this big, like just party for like straight people. And there was no, like, there was very little about it that was Pride.
Really?
And it was because they combined it with this like carnival thing. But I just remember going there and like most of the people there were like these really, really young, like straight people and straight couples and stuff. And I just was like, I didn't feel like it was for me. Like it didn't feel like, you know, yeah.
No, I get that. Maybe you guys can kind of speak to this, but being in the South, like we can go into our drag shows, like the small gay community does show up, but like there's a hell of a ton of straight people that go, and so it's I don't know. I guess I'm just used to it.
Yeah, that's fair. All right, folks. Here's the easy one. What do we feel about straight pride?
You feel about straight pride? All right, Bradley. Since you said the question, kick it off. How do you feel about straight pride?
I think that I agree with a lot of the pushback from it. You know, pride is to me like about fighting for our rights, which straight people have never had to do. But I also think just the whole organization is hilarious to follow because they've actually appointed a gay man as the head, as like the, you know, it is hilarious. But yeah, I think, I mean, you know, everybody has a right to organize an event for sure. But I don't think that this event is particularly needed.
It's fair.
I mean, but they have that argument every damn year. Is they want to strike pride every damn year, but they don't do it, do they?
Yeah.
This is just the first time they're actually trying to like organize a parade.
Right.
It won't happen.
Yeah, I wonder.
Well, I know that they were like going through the process of like trying to get permits and stuff, and the city didn't want to give them permits, and it was like this whole forth. It was in Boston, right? Was where they were trying to. So it definitely, it's stupid, and I don't think honestly, because I don't think they really understand the amount of money that goes into like these pride parades and these festivals, and the amount of like corporate sponsorship that these festivals have. And so I don't think they think about all that. So I just don't think they'll even remotely have the money to do something on some scale.
Yeah, you're probably right. And it does feel like it is just this kind of like political move. Like it's just this pushback against like LGBT plus pride. And it's like, why are you doing this?
It's like, can you stop? See, Michael says, it's stupid. I think straight pride is just to counter our 1 month a year. And honestly, I think like, honestly, you kind of see the same thing with Black History Month, with like super racist white people who like are like, why don't we have like White History Month? Like that's a thing in the South. I know where I'm from, and it's just like it's like, guys, it doesn't make any sense because if you read most books, like all history is like usually white history, and then all history is also straight history. Like there's like like a section of a chapter about the LGBT community when I was in high school, and they just don't really understand like why this needs to be celebrated. They just, and that's the problem. I think is it's not. I think it's willful ignorance. I think it's just ignorance. You know, like knowing, and it's not their fault because they've just never been educated.
T.
Sorry, I'm trying to share all my links and such.
Oh my goodness, I need to do that as well. I forgot about that.
You know, every time I hear T now, I think about the nails, hair, hips, heels video.
Oh my god,
that's my favorite thing right now. Just my brother.
Hair, hips, heels.
Let's see. What y'all got? I'm reading through the chat. What y'all think? Do y'all know anything about the Equality Act going through Congress right now? Because I don't.
I also don't.
Well, hold on, because or no, y'all don't hold on, but I can barely hear anybody, so I'm trying to connect my headphones. So,
Okay.
a moment. This is turning out horribly.
Oh my goodness! I feel like you always have tech problems.
Oh, goodness,
Take your time.
Deadbeat towns.
Okay, is there anything you would like to see at a Pride that you have not seen before? I guess I've never I've been to Starkville Pride, and really it's when you think of Pride, like our version of Pride is like really. This was the second year we've ever done it. We had a small little like parade. It was more like a march down Main Street, and we had a drag show, and like that's our Pride. So like I've never been to like an actual Pride festival. I always get busy around the time around Pride season, and then poor, and then like it happens in big cities far away, and then like organizing it, finding somewhere to stay, like getting people to go, and all of that is like just always never worked out. So I've never been to an actual like Pride. So I can't really attest to what I would want to see. I just would love to see it. Question mark.
All right, can we hear me again?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. I'm good. I'm good. Okay. What are we on? Are we on the Equality Act still, or did we move on?
We can go back to the Equality Act.
What was
you know something about it?
Well, is it just what do you know about it? It's that discrimination one, right? It's that nobody can discriminate against us. Pretty sure, maybe. If I'm wrong, correct me always.
Hey Hunter, what is he talking about the right thing? Hunter was asking about it. And then the other one that we were kind of talking about was what's something that you haven't seen at a Pride that you would like to see at a Pride.
Never been to a Pride, so
well,
I'll see my first one, and then I'll make a list.
If you guys ever want to come to Pride in London, you have a place to stay. You're officially invited.
Careful, I'll go buy my freaking plane ticket tomorrow.
Yeah. I guess though, answering that question, because I've been to a few Prides, and I would like to see them feel less corporate and more accessible. And some of them are really good with accessibility. I just feel like Pride should be something that's pretty like open and available and shouldn't have like huge price tags on it. And I also think that like having a corporate presence at Pride is okay. It just needs to be done the right way. And sometimes certain Pride events in the UK feel very corporate, such to the extent where it's like, okay, what is this actually about? You know?
Yeah.
Pride, London Pride is on the 7th of July, Joffrey. I don't know if I pronounced your name right.
So Pride events, I'm assuming they have to have sponsors and stuff, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And so I mean, that's a big reason for it feeling so corporate. And I mean, there's, I guess it would take a lot more fundraising than if y'all want to get rid of that part. Because you could do away with the corporations who are sponsoring it. You would just it would have to be more people run instead of corporation run, which would take a lot more people's money other than corporations' money.
Yeah, I don't think that I don't want corporations at Pride. I just think that they need to do it the right way. You know, if they're just there to advertise, because a lot of times that it is just an advertising thing. Whereas some companies have done like a lot of great stuff, and they have, you know, really good like charity outreach, and they do a lot of great programs for the community. And in those cases, I think, you know, sure, like this can be an advertising opportunity for you because you've put in the time to, you know, make a positive difference. But some of them just use it as an advertising opportunity.
What would your suggestion be? What would you suggest they do?
Well, a lot of like, so Barclays is an example, not sponsored, but yeah. But they are like, as a bank, they've donated tons of money to LGBT charities, and they've like actually, you know, made a huge investment towards making a positive change. And then they also are usually Pride in London's #1 sponsor and right at the front of the parade. So I think that if a company, you know, is willing to invest into like actual LGBT organizations, or, and then the other thing is that, like, looking at how a company treats their employees. So if a company has like really poor policies towards their LGBT employees, but then is in Pride to advertise, it feels like a two-faced kind of like,
And I think that's a good point to make. I think companies' long-term involvement in LGBT issues would speak volumes. And then if you see that company, their logo around Pride, you'd be like, well, yeah, they're doing a good job, instead of, during the month of June, they're all there, and then they book it after that.
Exactly. Yeah.
I think that's like the problem with it, is that one, it's new territory for companies like advertising in Pride, so they don't really know how to do it effectively and efficiently yet. They're still learning how to like work with Pride and not overstep that. Look at my advertisement, as opposed to like, this is the thing we're doing.
Right.
On top of also like the gay community being like, it's gay Pride Month. Okay, it's not Pride Month anymore. Like, during like Pride Month, everyone's all about it. But like Zach said, like, to get rid of the corporations, it would take like fundraising. It would take like more dedication. And let's be honest, 90% of the gay community is not about that hustle. Like, they want to enjoy Pride Month while it's happening. And then after that, it's like, okay, we're going to prepare for festivities next year.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and the thing is, like, Pride Month goes beyond Pride Month, because a lot of places, and I don't know when, because I've never even been to a Pride, but a lot of places, they don't even do it during June, their Prides. I think Austin's is, again, correct me, Austin's is not in June, I don't believe. And so that's something that's always confused me. But I think if you see companies that, Prides that are, not just in the month of June, I think that's a really good thing as well, because it's showing something. I don't know. It's showing that it's not just a bandwagon thing.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Pride in London is also in July, and Cardiff Pride is in August. So yeah, I totally agree with that. And I think that's one. I mean, Pride Month is wonderful, but I would love to see us use it less as this like exclusive one moment in the year where people care, and kind of like demolish that idea a little bit,
I don't know. I guess like here's a dangerous box. That's why I usually don't really celebrate Pride Month a whole lot. I don't really like talk about it on my channel anymore. Like, I don't really like, tweet about it. Because I'm just like, I don't know. I think it lost its magic like 2 years after I came out, because I was like, what's so special about Pride Month when, like the events happen like year round. Like, I'm gay year round. Like,
yeah, and I understand the why it's, I don't want to say magical, but why it's so special in June, because I mean there's a bunch of history that goes behind it, but we're forgetting that. It's becoming more about these like festivals and what outfit you're going to wear to Pride and stuff like that. And especially this year, June has kind of been a sickening month, just in my opinion. I'm a little bit sick of seeing how many companies are throwing out just Pride stuff, and then that they're not going to back any LGBT issues like the Equality Act. Are they ever going to speak out about the Equality Act, like bringing that back up? And it's just, I don't know. It's all. So I would kind of agree with you. I think this year, mostly for me, it's kind of lost its magic.
I feel that.
So.
Yeah, no, I feel that too. Even this month alone, there's been like this whole controversy with like NSPCC, this company that like changed their logo to a rainbow and then like fired one of their LGBT ambassadors. Well, not fired probably isn't the word, but there's a lot of controversy around that. And it is like, a lot of it does fall quite hollow. Changing your logo to a rainbow means literally absolutely nothing.
It doesn't do anything. It's bandwagon shit. And I want to see them doing some actual stuff. I want to hear what they're actually doing instead of just putting out products that are going to make them money.
Yeah, could not agree more.
Because, hold on, going also into that, a lot of these companies come out and they have their rainbow products and stuff like that, and then they say 100% goes to like Trevor Project and stuff like that. Fantastic on the sticker, but do you also know like the kickback for them is going to be great? Like they're going to have a lot more windfall than just this measly 100% fraction that they're going to have to donate to the Trevor Project. In comparison to that, they're going to be making so much more money.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people don't even like think about that, or don't like really understand advertising at all. Like this is completely unrelated whatsoever, but like I remember with the whole kind of like Tati Westbrook drama, everybody was bringing this up. I'm so sorry, but everybody praised her for not having off her video. But she advertises her own business and her own products in the video, and she like somebody calculated that she had probably made like over $1 million off of that video advertising her product. And like, oh, she's a great person because she didn't have ads, but she did have ads. So a lot of people realize, how that works.
Just because you don't have ads on a video doesn't mean you're not getting windfall from another ad.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah. I think
I wish I was as rich as Tati Westbrook.
The advertising campaigns for a lot of things like nowadays, like people don't really understand it and like the marketing behind it all. And even like the Tati Westbrook, like James Charles stuff, like, yeah, there was drama with it, but like, does anyone even talk about it anymore? Like, really? Like, no, but
there was something sketchy going on about that. Each of the people involved in that got a video, which made tons of money on its own. They each got a bunch of publicity. They each got, and like they've all said before, because I got really into this when this whole thing came out. I didn't hardly know about these people, but now, like, I think James Charles said that whenever a scandal comes, he gets like tons of business, and it's like, come on, there's something sketchy going on there. I think it was totally staged.
And then as soon as he like posted his receipt video, he was like, I'm done talking about this, we're all done, we're all on good terms. I'm like, she tried to end your career and now everything's okay. I don't know. So it was definitely from the beginning, like, I don't know, I didn't really know what was going on, but it definitely felt more like there was some kind of cahooting. I don't know.
Shady business, for sure.
That's YouTube, and that's how they stay famous.
Yeah. I need a scandal. I've been trying to come up with my scandal.
We should all come up with one together.
On the gay community, goodness. That makes me like shudder just to think about the shit that would go down. I don't want to. Y'all do that. I'll stay where I am. I don't want it.
All right. Questions. Let's get some questions.
We have a couple.
Do we? I haven't seen them.
There's some further back down that, let's see. How safe do people feel at Pride? This one?
Not very. I haven't been, but I know that I barely feel safe at the movie theater. And Pride event is a bunch of gay people centered in one area. It's like a huge target.
Yeah. No, I don't feel safe at all. Even in the UK, which is much better with crime and mass shootings and stuff in the States I still don't feel safe at all, and I feel scared to go to big events like that. It's a shame because it's nice to be able to go to stuff like that. Even like unrelated to Pride, we had this big protest of Brexit, and I wanted to go to it, but I also was afraid to, and I didn't, and I feel kind of bad, but I also don't want to die.
Yeah, and the fear that goes along with it, it's like very real, and I feel like that like kind of comes back to like why straight pride isn't a thing, because like we actively like just are, I don't know, I feel like I've been afraid for a long time on a low-key level. Like I still would go to Pride, I still go to events, I still go to music festivals. I gave a stranger a ride home the other night. Very strange thing. I thought I was gonna die, but I also was like, whatever. Anyway. But I don't know, and I tweeted about this last night about Grindr. Like the whole gay community and a lot of things we do just are not safe. And Grindr, in my opinion, is also like just one of those key things that like you can track somebody down. You can track down somebody's location with that single app because of the grid mechanism. And if there are like 2 or 3 people looking for somebody, you can triangulate somebody's position really easy, just like moving the profiles around.
Well, the thing is with gay people. Oh no, finish. I'm sorry.
No, it's just, and so for me, like I don't know, a lot of things about the gay community, I feel like we've been targeted for so long, but I feel like there's a lot of things that we don't do. Like people trying to keep police out of Pride. I'm like, that is just, to me, that's just a moronic thing.
It's idiotic.
Like you're trying to keep the people. Like I don't understand. Like I get some people don't like the police. I understand that. But also if you keep the law enforcers away from Pride, you can't, like, you're opening up just an invitation for anybody that wants to bring a gun to Pride to just open fire. Like you're just for something bad to happen if you do not have someone there to enforce the law. Because
Anyway,
going back to going back to what you were saying, like with the grinder thing, gay people did not learn how to date and how to like hook up and stuff. Normally, we came into this whole thing with, and not so much now, but you know, throughout history, gay people sort of came into the world knowing how to just take the risks, be okay with the risks, and just know how to protect yourself, whether you do or actually don't know how to protect yourself. So, you know, going and meeting some strange guy off Craigslist or something like that is a more normal thing in the gay community than it is anywhere else. And it's because of how we've had to adapt to being in the world and make ourselves feel accepted. I don't know. Yeah.
No, yeah. Like, I mean, even when like, if you go on a date with a dude off Tinder or something, even like an app like Tinder, like my straight friends are still like, you're meeting up with this person, or like someone DMs you on Instagram and you go have coffee with someone you met off Instagram. They're like, that's sketchy. That's weird. I'm like, that's normal. Like, I don't know, to me, like going on dates with people off that you met off the internet, or like even my best friends that like I went and visited my buddy in Hamburg. I met him on Instagram. Like and for me, it was just no big deal to just go. And I mean, I even stayed with Bradley. I met Bradley on the internet. Like,
and I want to point out what Mike's saying right now. He said mass shootings and hate crimes are not just isolated to the LGBT community. And I did want to point that out, and I lost my point for a second because we went back to, well, you know, straight people don't have to deal with that at straight pride. I guarantee you there's a gay guy who, if a bunch of straight people started, you know, having prides and gathering and are focused in one central area where you know they're all straight, there's going to be that gay guy who's a little bit off his rocker, a little bit, you know, his marbles are loose. He's going to be plotting something, whether he does it or not. It's going to be, that's with every walk of life. So 100% agree with you, Mike.
Yeah, for sure.
Crazy people fucking everywhere.
Yeah. And going like back to the police thing, I fully do not understand that. It's here in the UK too. There's so much pushback against having police at Pride. And it's so bizarre. I've always felt safer having police around. I had like a extremely minor assault case a while ago, like literally phenomenally minor. But it was still an assault in public, and I called the police about it, like the non-emergency number, because it wasn't an emergency and it wasn't a big deal. But they were so kind, and I explained to them that, you know, I've started wearing nail polish sometimes, and that could potentially have been a motivation. And they were just like so like kind about it, and they were like anytime anything happens to you, they're like, if somebody calls you a faggot or, you know, anything, which was, because I also told them that had also happened to me in a similar area, they're like, call us every single time. We will build a profile of all of these incidents and potentially have a better chance to prevent them from happening or create social change in that area. And this was like the police, you know, they're very much on our side, I feel, and, you know, on the side of safety and on the side of protecting the peace. And, you know, sure, there are absolutely some police individuals who have done some bad things. But I just felt like this sense of like comfort being on the phone with this police officer and being like, okay, like these law enforcement, they care about me, and they care about the fact that I'm a gay man who sometimes presents, you know, like, you know, more obviously gay in public, and they care about that, and they care about me being safe. And
I feel like that's the same way with the police in America. Like, I know there's a huge, and I'm probably going to get hate for this, but I feel like the larger majority of our law enforcement they're not out to like shoot all the black people. They're not out to like, you know, not help the gay guys. You know, it's not like that. It's always the bad seeds that get more attention than the larger groups that are doing a really great job, to be honest. Like, everybody wants to shit on the police and stuff, but go back to 9/11. Like, you don't even have to say much about that. Like, they did their damn job. And if that happened today, those people would be there and everybody else would be watching. So
facts.
I agree with you.
Yeah, no, I completely agree.
Sorry if I opened up like 12 topics at once. I have a bad keep the conversation.
Nicholas Scott asks us, how do you feel about people assuming someone's personality based on sexual orientation?
Oh, that's a loaded question.
Yeah. I mean, I think that I get that a lot because I'm very in touch with my feminine side, and people tend to pick up on that as being related to my sexuality. And personally, I don't feel like I feel that I'm very in touch with my masculine side, but maybe more feminine than masculine. But I don't feel that has absolutely anything to do with the fact that I'm gay. I know some very feminine straight people. So for me, it has always pissed me off that people will be like, "Oh, I knew that you were gay because you were a little bit flamboyant and you talked with your hands, trigger." Yeah. It's so frustrating, and I feel bad for my straight friends that are more feminine too, because they get the same thing. And, it's always unfair to assume stuff like that based on how you present yourself or, yeah. I feel a certain kind of way about that. And I talk about it probably way too much on the internet.
No, I think it's something that needs to be talked about, because like as soon as someone like finds out that you're gay, like their initial response is either like, "Oh, but you're so masculine, like I never would have guessed," or like, "Oh yeah, I already knew."
Right.
I don't appreciate it. Like, 2, it's not welcome. 3, it's like stereotyping people based off of like their character traits is just like stupid. Like judging someone's sexuality based off of the natural pitch of their voice, like that is such like a common thing, and it's
absolutely.
And I don't know. I feel you, Bradley. I don't talk about it nearly as much, I don't think, anymore. I used to talk about it a lot, but it definitely grinds my gears.
100%. Tom Cole, in your comment, I would challenge you, what does painting your nails have to do with being feminine or masculine? And I will ask you that and leave it at that.
Okay, there was a question, but I lost it. All right. What do y'all think about gay stereotypes? Do you think that they are overused in shows and movies? I feel like any TV show or any movie that you see that has the gay character, like they're not just like a person that's gay. Like, no, I don't know. I can't think of many, if any, that have like the gay character that is just a dude or just a chick that is gay.
Well, they're out there. It's just they're not mainstream. So you really have to dig deep, and I think that's the problem. Is we need to get it more mainstream so that everything's normalized. Everything that's how normalization happens. Everything needs to go mainstream.
I can think of one actually. I take it back. I retract my previous statement. I used to watch Teen Wolf. I don't know if you guys ever watched Teen Wolf. I loved that show. And there was a set of twins on there, Ethan and Aiden. And Ethan was gay. And like it wasn't a big deal that he was gay. Like there was no coming out on the show. He was not a super feminine dude. Like he definitely just dated a gay character that was on the show who was also just another dude. And so there were 2 characters on that show. They were not like shown romantically together a whole lot. I think there were like 1 or 2 scenes where they were together, and then one of them left the show. So, but it was there. It existed for a short minute, and it was not like that big of a thing. So there is one. But yeah, stereotypes definitely in the mainstream shows, and anytime you see a show like get big, it's if there's a gay character, like they definitely exploit the natural things that people look for when they're looking for a gay person.
Yeah.
The worst thing is, and this is quite a different thing, but when they have characters that exhibit, a lot of, oh gosh, how do I say this? But queer baiting, when they create characters that kind of hint at quite strongly like a romance between 2 characters or something, but then they're like, oh, those characters are straight, and they draw in a viewer base sort of who are expecting something, and then kind of don't ever deliver that. That's always frustrating.
What did that happen with? That happened with there was a show recently that did that. I'm not even going to remember. So
supposedly Killing Eve does that, but I haven't seen it, so I don't want to say that.
This one's a little bit out there. It's not quite. It's not it's more of a fan theory than anything. But like in the Marvel universe, Captain America and Bucky had a lot more of a connection than he did with Peggy. I don't even know if You know what I'm talking about?
No.
And a lot of people felt that there was more of a connection there, and they were like, well, do it. And then I've heard Chris Evans like talk out or speak out about it, and he's like, yeah, I would be fine with playing a bi character. And it's like, do the damn thing. It's right there. It's a natural progression,
Yeah. Make it
Yeah,
happen.
In the MCU,
everybody's already dead.
Spoiler.
if you go back, you really can see all these like romantic moments between Captain America and Iron Man. I swear to God, like it's there. Like it's a fan theory for sure, and they promote it. Like if you go to Chris Evans' Twitter and then Robert Downey Jr.'s Twitter, like they're always tweeting like these like almost like gay things about the characters together.
Yeah.
And so it's there.
They get people riled up, and they get people excited about it, and then it doesn't happen. It never comes to fruition, and it gets a little bit frustrating because people can see it happening. They can envision that happening, and it wouldn't feel forced, but it's just not going to happen because you've got this larger majority you still have to pander to.
And I think it's crazy. Endgame had the first openly gay character in the MCU. I didn't know that. I didn't realize that. When they're sitting down and having like after like the world, like everybody's gone, and he's sitting in the support group, and the man is talking about going on a date. That's the first time they've had an openly gay character in the MCU. And I thought that was mind blowing because there's been how many movies at this point?
Yeah, it's been 10 years, and they've had plenty of time to introduce somebody. So now we're having to wait until, during these next 10 years, which you never know. It could be 7 years down the line from now. It gets a little bit frustrating. I think the world's going to get superhero fatigued very, very soon, though. So by the time it happens, I guarantee it's not going to get much attention anyway.
Nope. That's like, I personally think like Deadpool is like just a prime opportunity.
He would, exactly. There you go. He is a gay character. He's a gay character or a bi character. You can say a bi character, but they don't do it.
No, and Ryan Reynolds has even been like, I would love to explore Deadpool's pansexuality. Like I would love to see that happen because he has all of these moments in his movies, but he also like, I feel like they're ruining his franchise and just kind of like, they're trying to make him PG-13 so we can go with Disney's like message nowadays. So like they're already taking out everything that makes Deadpool, like all of his excessive swearing and all of his like vulgar language. And so like throwing in like gay into the mix, like I just don't think Disney's going to do that.
Well, we can dream.
We can dream about everything.
Okay, what we got?
What about gays telling other gays how to be gay?
Oh boy.
Males from every side. You got the mask, you got femme, you got all of them.
Yeah.
Everybody has some sort of opinion on how you're supposed to be gay. And then if you don't go along with that, then so a big thing that I've talked about before, and I actually have a video coming out about it this week, is I really get frustrated with people on, this is just one side, for example, though. I get frustrated with people getting mad at the guys who are like, yeah, I'm gay, but I don't want to be called cis or something like that. And then everybody comes in and they're very antagonistic about it. They're like, yes, whatever, cis, like you mask bro cis, blah, 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 blah. And it's, you're telling that guy that he needs to be a certain way, he needs to be okay with a certain thing, but you don't know his history. You don't know. So the word queer for me, I don't like that word. I never heard it used in a good way. Whenever I hear it, it like kind of makes me cringe. You don't know that, if somebody called him girl or like bullied him in like high school, middle school or anything like that. So if he doesn't want to be called something, you can't just call it, I don't know why I'm stuttering on that one. You can't call him that and expect him to be okay with it, because that's how you're supposed to be when you're gay. You're supposed to call each other cis and, say all this drag lexicon or whatever.
And the hypocrisy comes with, these are the same people that get pissed off about preferred pronouns. Like these are the same people that are like, if someone says call them he, she, whatever they want to be called, like they're like, call them that. But if someone's like, don't call me cis, or like some people don't like I know some dudes that like, don't call me bro, don't call me dude. And I'm like, okay. But then some dudes are like, don't call me girl, don't call me sis. And it's like, just it's a respect thing, and people like expect to just be able to say whatever they want to say. It's like it's almost like that gif. It's like move, I'm gay. It's like you don't just get to say, because like Zach said, like we've had that discussion about like how queer is just like, I can't stand the word. Like it makes me physically angry. Like I don't like it. I have a very bad connotation with it. And so like people just don't like to be respectful about like language nowadays. And it's very
Nobody wants to be respectful about anything, and it does come from all sides, because you do have the same guys who are tweeting about don't call me cis, are also saying there's only two genders. I hear that shit all the time, and it's like, if you want to be respected, you also have to give that respect, and that goes for everything.
Yeah. And respect is easy. Like
it is so easy, and I don't understand how people are so baffled by it.
Yeah. And I think that people very much are like in their own space, like, well, I think this is fine, therefore I can apply this to you. And you have that with a number of different labels in the gay community, even things like top and bottom and stuff, but there's so many things with that where it's like, I think that this is fine, therefore I can use this label on you. And it's like even for me personally, I don't have any negative feelings towards the word queer, but I definitely would not use that to refer to either of you guys, because I absolutely know that makes you uncomfortable. And like, I just would not do that, and it's like so easy for me to just not do that,
Yeah. If somebody's really going to have a problem, if they really have a problem with something or being called something, and it's that big of a problem, most likely they're going to let you know. And if they let you know it's not okay with them, that's fine. All you have to do is move along. You don't have to be antagonistic about it. You don't have to keep going back and forth and having an argument about it. Have a discussion, fine. But there's just respecting. You already said it.
Yeah.
Going back to stereotypes, Michael earlier in the chat, I lost it now. There it is. He said, stereotypical about disability is very frustrating. And I can only imagine, like, because I know, like, just in the gay community, like, just being Southern, for instance, like, there are stereotypes on Southern gay men already. So just like, and that's like a minute thing. So I can only imagine with like the stereotypes that come with bigger sections of the LGBT community, like disability, or like even like being transgender, even bisexuals, for instance. Like there's a huge discussion going on about like bisexuals right now, and like everybody like stereotyping them, and like all bis are cheaters, and like all bis are this, and all bis are that. And it's like it's the same people who are like, not all gay people are like this. We equality.
Exactly. And let's go.
I always find it baffling how in the gay community we want equality among the rest of the world, but we don't want equality among each other.
Exactly. And it's not always that. What was that?
Yeah.
You agree? It's not always even so like in your face. It's not always, that people are not going to just say, oh, well, that, bi guys, ain't equal to us and stuff like that. When you go back to the people with disabilities, everybody's nice about it. Everybody wants to, be an ally for that and be like, yeah, you've got a disability, go. There's that thing going around the internet where it's like, I don't even know what they call it, but it's like some sort of inspiration that's supposed to make you feel good for being, supportive of that. And it's like, well, you want to be supportive of that, but you don't want to, it's inclusion. And a lot of disabled people face inclusion problems, as Michael talks about all the time. And I see him talking about it on Twitter all the time. And, everybody wants to be supportive of him, but who is really including him,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Y'all should follow Michael on Twitter and see all the stuff he has to say, because
everybody's social media are down in the description. Everybody's YouTube channels, so subscribe to everybody's Instagrams, and everybody's Twitters.
Hey, wow, the organization.
I wasn't gonna do all that, and then I was getting Vinny's and Brandon's because they have like 12 YouTube channels.
Yeah.
Getting their social medias, and I saw where they had listed all the stuff. I was like, oh, that's cute. I was like, I'll do that. Oh my goodness.
Gay community worst discrimination is ageism, says Daniel Rotello. And I really agree. I don't know if it's the worst because there's a lot of really bad things, but it's definitely very high up there. Ageism is huge in the community, and it's been something that I've been trying to like address more on my channel lately, because I think that you're so erased if you're past a certain age. And it's really sad. I have a friend here that I did a project on ageism with who's gay, and he's like this really, really talented guy, and he's trying to get these bookings for Pride, and he's like too old, and it's like so frustrating to me. And luckily he has gotten some through, but it's just, you know, age has nothing to do with anything, you know. And it made me sad the other day. I got a comment on one of my videos like showing off different like items of clothing and stuff, and one of the guys was like, oh, I'm too old to like express myself through, you know, different types of clothing. I wouldn't be able to pull it off because I'm too old. And I was like, no, like, you can dress however you want. And, you know,
and he's only saying that because if he did do that, you know, let's be realistic, he'd get a lot of judgment for it.
Right.
I mean, yeah, I definitely, I like off the clothing video. I mean, I did an underwear haul video, and I mean, I enjoyed it. And in the comments, like there were a ton of people that were like, you know, like maybe even just over 30 that were like, I could never buy this underwear. I could never like wear stuff like that because like, you know, like too old. And I'm like, no, like I'm like everybody can, and it's just because the community has definitely told them like, you can do this, you can't do this, you can do this, you can't do that. And it definitely, like, some of my best friends are actually like, they're like 30, they're more mature, and so, but they're like over 30 years old, like 30, 40, 50, like, and that's like my best friends around Starkville right now are like, they're like older men. And it definitely, like, they do feel included when it comes to like just even the local LGBT, which is mostly older gay men here in the South. And so it's very baffling again and confusing. On the flip side of that, though, I feel like I've talked about this a little bit before, like where people will tell you that you're being ageist or discriminating against people, like if you won't date someone of a certain age. And so it gets very murky, in my opinion, and very frustrating when you are being actively inclusive of a certain demographic, but then because of your, use the word preference, sexual people, or like your preference towards romantic partners, people tell you that you're discriminating against them and that you're not including them. And I feel like that's just that's a trigger point for me.
I really liked how you addressed that topic in your videos. Like it's really important, and it's very topical. Like that's such an issue right now.
It's so hard to open those discussions because as soon as you start talking about age, as soon as you start talking about race, as soon as you start talking about trans people or anything like that, members of those communities get very defensive. Before they even hear what you say, as soon as they see that you're opening the topic, if you're not a member of that demographic, they get very defensive and they don't want to talk about it. They just want to scream at you, shut up. And it's like, we need to
cancel you.
Well, we do also have to. So, just playing devil's advocate here, you do also have to take it, and I believe this for every sort of situation, you have to take into how they're feeling about it. So yes, you have your opinions about it, but you also have to understand the day-to-day prejudice they face. And so they may feel a certain type of way. And so having a sort of conversation about it instead of just shutting somebody down is it's a lot better than shutting somebody down. Just have a conversation about it and be like, and like, I think I've heard everybody here do that before. I feel like we've done that in a live stream before. It's just we have to be aware that, you know, our experience is not everybody else's experience.
Yeah. When it comes to stuff like that, I always try to, like, if I'm making a video talking about trans issues, like, for instance, I try to, even if I can't get someone in, like, that's the first thing. I'd love to, like, get someone in who's trans, who can kind of, like, be there to represent a demographic that I'm not a part of. And so, you know, I think that is important. Like, you know, you can have an opinion about something, but you have to realize when you're not part of the group that you're talking about. Or you can just like ask someone to send through, like, you know, just something via text, and you can put that in the video and be like, I spoke with this person, they felt this way. But I do think sometimes you open up a discussion, and even if you are representing people from that community, some people will shut that down. And it is frustrating because sometimes I want to have a conversation with someone I disagree with on a public forum to engage in conversation. And in today's society, I feel like you have to be so careful because people will accuse you of giving to a platform to, this, bad person or whatever. And it's like, I could disagree with someone enormously, but I might still want to, have them on my channel to talk about, to get a conversation rolling. And if we shut down conversations before they start, how do we ever
don't get anywhere? You don't get anywhere. If you yourself decide to go on a public platform and speak about anything, you are opening a discussion. Other people will comment, other people will come in, and some people will not be very nice. You have to be willing to have that discussion, and you have to be willing to understand that they may not come around, and just because you're having the discussion with them doesn't mean they're going to be so forthcoming and want to have that discussion. And if they're not, you've tried, and you can do nothing else about it until they come around and want to have that discussion. So it comes from all sides, buddy.
Absolutely, yeah.
Let's see. Michael said in the chat, going back to me talking about my underwear, he said, same with me. I put my pictures of me in my underwear on Instagram. Many people push back. And so, yeah, like it's definitely, it's a thing. Like you can, and that, I think I've kind of like had to address this with myself a lot recently. It's just like what Michael said, like I can post these pictures on Instagram. Like you can post whatever you want. You can say what you want. You can do what you want. Like it's your life. It's your social media. It's your accounts. And something that I personally had to look at was like definitely my response to what people say back. Because I know that I'm not a huge fan of negative feedback. I know this about myself. I'm okay. I'm working on it. Like I'm learning. But I definitely had to address the fact that like a lot of people are going to push back anytime you do anything. And I think that's a lot of like discussions. I mean, like nowadays it's anything you post can open a discussion that's controversial, I feel like. And it's just, when you open those discussions, it's going to immediately take some kind of attack. It's going to take some kind of, but I look at in general, like most of the stuff that I post on YouTube and the internet nowadays, it's like, it's pretty personal. It's just my experience in life. And that's just what I'm doing. And,
but even so, you're still going to be getting that person who's going to come at you sideways, and you are going to feel a certain type of way. So you just have to figure out how are you going to respond to that, I guess.
Yeah. And I think like, I just had to remind myself that like I'm doing it not because I want the attention of like people coming from me or like some sympathy for whatever I'm doing. I'm doing it so that way other people feel comfortable to do it. Because if no one's doing it, if no one's having a conversation, if no one's talking about a topic, then it's not going to get anywhere. There has to be, someone's got to take some kind of hate. And I'm okay. Like we're at that generation, we're at this weird turning point, I think, in the world with a lot of society where we just have to have enough people opening those conversations about different things to get us to where we need to be. And so we're the transitional generation where we really have to pick things up and push them along. And I feel like a lot of people are just trying to let them sit. And it just takes picking it up and being okay. Like, that's why I'm 100% just stopped reading comments. Like I can't do it anymore. I'm
and you might just have to do that. And exactly, if you know that you're not going to be able to handle it, then you just have to not read them, because you're always going to get somebody coming at you sideways, and it'll piss you the fuck off, because somebody will say something that's so off book that like it's like, who taught you to speak to another human being like that? And you're either going to respond to it, and then that's going to open up a whole nother can of worms, or you're just going to let it go.
Sometimes you really disengage. That's absolutely true. Oh man.
Okay, ignore me for 5 seconds. I have to pee.
I also have to pee. Okay, I'm going next.
Bathroom break.
You might as well go now.
Okay, great. Bathroom break.
Take a pee break. If anybody has to go to the bathroom. All right, Mike. I saw you saying some stuff. So Michael, when you posted those pictures of yourself in your underwear, and this will give you some time to type, did you have more negative feedback from fellow people in the gay community, or was it more from people in your own life who know you and, you know, come from your church or whatever, wherever? Straight people who are just uncomfortable. I get that. That's sort of what I assumed was going to be the case. Do you feel like they were more uncomfortable just because it was you in your underwear, or because, I mean, it was probably just because you were in your underwear, and that sort of goes against, you know, the heterosexual norm, right? You don't post pictures in your undies.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hello.
Perfect.
Did you just get back to? We went to the bathroom together. We went to the bathroom together.
Okay, so Tom Cole says, and I'm guessing this goes back to ignoring comments and stuff like that. Hurting your feelings doesn't change reality. Ignoring it doesn't change reality. Ignoring it doesn't help anything. Well, you can only have a conversation with somebody so far as they, you know, if they're not gonna give you that respect to listen to you, then there's no conversation to be had, bud. So sometimes you have to just ignore it.
Michael made a comment. I don't know if someone's read it out already, but it was about ableism.
Yeah.
He said it's frustrating because people use you for inspiration, but we have to fight against ableism. We're not here for your inspiration. We just want to we just want to be normal. And I've heard that a lot in like disabled circles about like, you know, being inspirational, and people are like, "Oh, you're so inspirational." And I'm glad that you brought that up, and feel free to put some more messages in there, and we will read them out.
We will always come back to them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I'm reading this. Just someone, Soberanis said, like, what about millions getting fake tans to darken their skin tones? And I'm just like, I'm sitting here like, I go to the tanning bed. So I feel personally attacked. Like,
I mean, I don't see an issue with it. I don't know why people. I think people are really just trying to nitpick at that point. I don't have a popular opinion on on what is the fucking word? Cultural appropriation. Anyway, so I think that's sort of what you're getting at, maybe.
I don't know. I thought it was funny. I personally do it because all my friends are bodybuilders, and so they all get spray tans and they lay in bed and they do it. And I'll be honest, like it makes your muscles show more. It makes the lines more definitive because like there's like natural like tan lines that happen with it and everything. And so I don't know. That's just kind of, I do it because of a different community. So I don't know why, I guess. I don't know. I don't know why gay people do it.
It's not that big of a deal. And people who get up in arms about it are not focusing on the correct topics in life.
Yeah.
There are people getting their heads cut off somewhere in the world, and we're talking about if you're going to get tan or not.
Honestly, priorities.
Oh my goodness. Well, I think this one's kind of open-ended, but Nelson asked, do you guys think that the gay community has a double standard?
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
I think while scanning for other questions, I'll talk about that for a little bit while y'all look for questions.
Double standard, be a little bit more specific about it, because that's a very broad topic.
Yeah.
I mean, if we're talking about a double standard in terms of like accepting certain groups and not others, I think Zach, you made a great video about that with like, what was it like it's something about putting people in boxes and you're like, all right, get rid of this community. All right, get rid of this, these people, get rid of that group. And then what's left? So there's definitely double standards when it comes to like who people accept and kind of like, we want acceptance for this, but we're going to, be misogynistic or something, there's definitely that. But yeah, we need more.
And it's not something that needs to be looked at as like larger groups. We need to look at that within ourselves and just say to yourself, is what I'm saying right now, or is what I'm about to say, think before you speak. Is it going to be a double standard, because you can't fix just everybody all at once. It's not going to happen that way. You have to get to a specific person and you have to reach a specific person first.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. It's all about, it's the old classic saying, like, walk a mile in someone else's shoes, have perspective that, there's other groups and other people out there. And that applies to anything and everything. Yeah. Way beyond the gay community.
There's double standards everywhere. It's going to be with
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So Michael says, we want to be included, like going back to ableism, we want to be included with things rather than being inspirational. Many disability organizations have an underlying message of being inspirational, but not necessarily like including.
Yeah.
No policy, Pete. I hate it when people freaking say that. Sorry, no, go ahead, and I'll get into this right after.
No worries. It's kind of similar to the whole like rainbow thing, putting the rainbow on it, but not really supporting LGBTQ organizations. I think it's quite similar with disability stuff. You can say like, oh yeah, this is so inspirational, or look at this person who's so inspirational, without actually, and then not have wheelchair accessibility in your office space or something, so companies I think often do it's this like PR kind of stunt, which is a shame. Sorry, all right, take it away, Zach.
America is, well, somebody asked, I want to get to the question first.
I'm scared. He was loaded.
Somebody asked if America was ready to vote for a gay president. So the thing is, I think if you're speaking about Pete, he's not, his sexuality is not the biggest thing within his campaign. And that's not just saying that as like, oh, he's more than his sexuality. It's really not. People look at him and they talk more about what he's saying than his sexuality. The sexuality always comes up in every interview, it does. But I think he has a lot more to offer. And I think his big thing is age. And he's saying it's time for the younger generation to step up and sort of start taking over. And I completely agree with him. And based on that, I would vote for him tomorrow.
I would as well. Yeah.
And he has policies. I hate when people say no policy, Pete. Go watch some shit. Stop saying that. But I don't want to just, I don't want him to just be the American gay president. He's not the American gay president. He's if anything, he's the younger president.
I'm going to continue to say apolitical.
Okay.
It's like someone told me the other day, I think it was on one of it was a message someone sent me, and they were like, you've dodged political questions like multiple times. If you lean right, that's totally okay. Just say it. And I'm like, where in the world did
So, and I always had that sort of a stance similar. Like Alistair's not allowed to talk about his political anything. He's not allowed to discuss that. He would get in trouble if he did. And so I was always like, well, if he's not allowed to do it, I won't do it, because then people need to look up to him and respect him. But we're not getting anywhere like that. We're not getting anywhere by not talking about these things. And, I think Trump getting elected is a big indication of that, because when that whole election happened, I was trying to be very like middle-minded and like, well, Hillary, yes, Trump, yes. No, we like, you don't, everybody, this is America. You have your right not to speak about it. But I do think we've gotten ourselves into a mess. And so we need to, I don't know, the discussion needs to be a little bit more open than it is.
Yeah, I mean personally, and on a very personal level, when people say that they're um, well, okay, it's one thing to not be political on a public platform. I totally get that.
Yeah.
But not being like people who say that like they won't vote and stuff, that always frustrates me because I need to vote because policies affect so many layers of my life. You know, I can't just sit by and let certain policies pass because it affects my life, it affects other people's life. Like it's not even just about me, like it's about so many people and people living and surviving and all of these things. So to me it's a matter of life or death, like not to be dramatic, but I think that it just frustrates me.
I do agree with you. I agree with you completely, because we could either keep going forward or we could go backwards, and that is very much reliant on voting and people being not even like, you don't even have to be out like protesting or anything. Just take some sort of interest, whether it's public or not. You don't have to be publicly interested, but like take some sort of interest to read about it, stuff like that. And I'm sure like some people who don't want to talk about it on Facebook and stuff like that, I'm sure they do. I'm sure some people are like, I'm going to look this up, I'm going to be informed. And then there's a bunch of people who are not. And those are the people who, like you said, frustrate me.
Yeah, for sure. And it's really easy to look up like a little summary of like a politician's policies. Like you don't have to watch a single interview. You don't have to know anything about their personality. Just look up a little like summary on their key policies. And if you don't have a lot of time, that can help you make really quick decisions, and voting can be a really quick and still educated process. I mean, it's always like, obviously it's better if you have the time to do more research, but I totally get not having the time. And I think, it's really easy to just get some quick information and
just real quick. Yeah. And then you already know what you believe. Just line it up with that candidate. And Tom Cole, he's been all over this chat. He said, you actually think your vote matters. People who get in office have connections and money, and most of the time will sell out. 99% of the time your vote means nothing. Well, and we sit back and do nothing, that's going to continue, ain't it, buddy?
Yeah. And like he's right. There's something like a 3% chance that your vote will actually not count at all. But that doesn't mean don't do it. That doesn't mean
because it'll always change. There's always room for improvement and change, but that's not going to happen if nobody's doing anything. Everybody's just like, well, my vote's not going to count anyway.
So, I got a lot of flack for this. I still do to this day for not voting in the 2016 election. I didn't vote for a president back in the 2016 election, and a lot of people took this as I don't vote in general. I do vote. I vote for local elections. I vote for senators. I vote for governors. I vote for the officials that matter, in my opinion, because my stance on that is always just the electoral college it's a problem, in my opinion. But because it really just goes down to who your elected representative votes for. So it matters. The problem is too many people focus on like, you need to vote for the president. You need to vote for the president. And then they don't vote for their senators. They don't vote for their governors. They don't vote for their local officials. They don't vote for the people who make the change that we need to see. And I think that's the biggest problem is there's always a huge push for voter registration before the presidential election, and no one votes in any other elections. They don't care about who gets in office in other places. And that's the problem, because then the beliefs of the people who do get elected in those positions are the ones that get to pick the president. Because yes, like typically the electoral college has to vote in line with where their state is popular vote wise with the district, and I think that everything needs to get redrawn, and the lines and votes need to get redistributed in the United States. That's a whole different discussion. But there's a lot wrong with our presidential election right now, I think, that can simply be fixed, but they don't want to fix it.
Well, I think with the last election, there was a glaring problem with it. And I think that's what made people take a lot of notice. And your vote probably does mean almost nothing voting for the president, but there was a very big statement and a very underlined, bolded point that Hillary got more of the popular vote than Trump did. And I think that was a voice. It doesn't do anything. It doesn't help anything, but it's a voice. And I think it's very important, just as well as voting representatives, all of that. It's just an all-encompassing everything. Every little part is going to help another part. And so we have to take some sort of interest, because these older folks are not going to be here very much longer. And, you know, how old is Biden? He's like 78. If we elected him, yeah, like, great. I love him, all that. I don't even think he's 78. He might be different. But, Biden, you know, how is that going to help us in 20 years? You know?
Right.
Yeah.
I think it's time for the younger generation to step up.
The younger generation needs to step to the plate in general across all platforms, in politics, in policies, in local governments, just in life. I feel like too much of our generation is not doing anything.
And Pete's big thing Pete's big thing, this is really what got me hooked on him, is that he said, you know, a lot of these older politicians are fighting too hard to, whether it's on the Democrat side or the Republican side, to go backwards and make America great again, whatever. Well, you can't go back. You can never go back to anything. So the only way to go is forward, and none of these politicians are focusing on that. And I completely agreed with that. I thought that was right on the money.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I agree with that as well. Michael said the thing that caught me on board with Pete was when he saw him signing to a deaf guy, and how it's a stark contrast to the current president who mocked a reporter with a disability.
Yeah,
and I think that
he's very just presidential in general. He is well learned. He understands things. He understands foreign policy. He is very well spoken, and he's not like I did this the best. It should be President Trump Day, you know. So I don't know. We can move on. Politics is a big thing.
Yeah, no kidding.
Y'all stop saying Taylor for president. That makes me uncomfortable. Y'all don't want me to leave the country. You want me to leave shit.
I'm going to put you on the ballot.
Y'all playing a dangerous game.
Oh
my goodness.
Kyle Compton asked if any of us would date a bisexual guy, and how we would handle him still wanting women. I totally have no problem dating a bisexual guy. I don't know that necessarily that would mean that he would still be wanting women. He might still be attracted to women, but it definitely wouldn't be an issue for me at all. I'm bi-curious myself, so, you know, it's fine.
I think that definitely goes back to like the stereotypes. Like as soon as you hear that someone's bi, like it automatically turns you off. And I know I've said things like my personal experience dating bisexual dudes has been not so great, personally. But I also know that like not all bi dudes have horrible intentions. And I never really like hearing when someone's like, well, like if you're dating a bi dude, he's always going to want women. It's like, no, that's not true. That's like saying that while I'm dating a gay dude, he's always going to want another man. Like it's trust and commitment. And just because they're still attracted to other people just because they're attracted to members of both, or like men and women, I'm not even going to go into both genders. I'm not going to say shit like that because I'm going to get fucking slapped. But just because they're attracted to a larger array of people, suddenly you become afraid. And it's that fear that I think drives a lot of like negative relations when you have a bisexual relationship. I think it causes a lot of problems because people are just genuinely afraid that their partner is going to leave them or going to go with someone of the opposite sex. And I think it's kind of just built on like this culture now, because I think we live in sex culture. I think that's kind of the way things are right now. And that's kind of like egged this on. And I think it's built up this thing that bisexuals are monsters, because in sex culture, bisexuals can have sex with anybody they want to. And so they could leave you in a heartbeat. And it's not good. I feel bad for bisexual people, because I think my greatest relationship was with the bisexual dude. And like, the whole time we were together, he ended up cheating on me with another dude. He didn't cheat on me with a chick. So like, happens, you know.
Michael brings up a good point that it's a shame Brendon isn't here because he's bi, but they make some great videos about it, and their links are in the description. And they talk about what it's like. I don't even.
Just go find it. It's a treasure hunt.
Yeah, I totally agree with what you said, Taylor. Spot on, for sure.
Rudy said, okay, we're just going to touch on it briefly, sorry. Americans know nothing about the rest of the world. I think that is very accurate. I think you need to go outside of the United States and look at how they're reporting on our whole shebang. But I also think that's, with any country, just being able to step outside and look in on anything.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'll touch on that for a second, then Bradley can, because Bradley actually lives
hit it.
Country.
Oh yeah, there you go. See, I forgot all about that. I thought you were in the U.S.
I got a lot of coming back from Germany, and I personally, I still love Germany more than I loved being in the U.S. I loved being there every second that I was there. Everything was like so much. I just felt better over there. The people were different. The people had different mindsets. Everybody that I spoke to over there, like strangers even, like that I asked for directions, were educated, and like it was just a different feel. And I got a lot of flack when I came back and said that I personally prefer being in Germany to being in the United States. And it was from all these people that are like, America's the greatest country ever, and they never left their home state. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, probably think Mississippi's the greatest state in the whole country too. Go you.
It is.
Yeah, I do think, I mean, it's, it's not even really an opinion. People in Europe, have higher rates of education. And it's not like this, it's not at all saying that Americans are stupid by any means. That would be, shitting all over all of us. But, there are higher rates of education in Europe. And I feel like in general, they are more aware of the rest of the world. And I think that Americans, and you look at a lot of our history, and there's a lot of isolationism in our history as well. So it's not really that surprising. I love living in the UK, but I don't know. I don't know how, if I might be back in the States very soon, unwillingly. So that's the thing.
Oh no!
But we'll see. We'll see. Yeah. Which isn't terrible. Like, I love the States as well, but I think that, people like the whole "Make America Great Again." America was never really definably great. We're the lowest on most scores of everything, from education to a million other things. One of the only things we have the highest rates of in the world is prisons and incarceration and gun violence and a number of other things. So I don't think it's a bad country by any means, and I'm not in favor of being like, Americans are terrible and America's an awful country, because it's not at all. But I also think that it's good to be self-aware, and I love America.
100%. That's completely right. Self-awareness is key, because I have a lot of pride in my country. I love my fucking country, and I think my country has something very, very special. And that's not saying that other countries, we have to back all these things up. It's not like I'm saying other countries don't have something special, but I have a lot of pride in my country. However, I think we have a lot of entitled people here who don't really, I don't know, they just don't think that the country's for anybody else.
Yeah.
And I think, so every place needs to work on something, but I think
absolutely,
get out of our own asses and get out and figure out what's going on in the rest of the world too. I agree with you.
Damn right.
America.
Exactly that.
All I'm saying is, if you move back to the States, Bradley, I'm moving in with you.
Yeah, great. Please do, because I don't know what I'm gonna do, honestly. I need a roommate.
Okay, so Matt just said, so if a person is bisexual, at what point do they commit to be with a male or female and be a faithful relationship? And see, that's the thing, is people like to also say that bisexual is once they're in I used to think like this. I used to be one of these people, and I'm not anymore because I got educated. I used to think that like once like a bisexual person like got married or like settled down with someone, like they would either be straight or they would be gay, like just depending on who they settled down with. And that's not true, because you will always be attracted to both genders. Like that's just a fact. Just same for like gay people. Like you'll always find other men attractive. Whether you act on that, whether you like want to pursue that is like totally on you. That's when it becomes adultery. That's when it becomes cheating. That's when it becomes all that. But you can still find other people attractive. It's the actions and intentions behind it, I think, that matter. And so saying that just because a bisexual dude marries a guy and he finds a woman smoking hot and saying that that's wrong and that's not okay, that's bullshit. Like I think,
and that point of wanting to settle down and all that, like, yeah, you bring up that point. But that point is not any different than the same point for everybody else. You know, you're gonna want to. Some people are going to want to go out and just sleep around and have fun. And then when you decide you are ready to settle down and you want to settle down, you'll do it just like everybody else does. There's no difference. Zero difference.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And like also every sexuality cheats, you know, like straight people cheat on their partners, gay people cheat on their partners, you know, bi people also cheat on their partners. All of these scenarios are, you know, really unfortunate. And it's a shame that anybody cheats or commits adultery, but it's not unique to a sexual orientation by any means. So.
No. And it's definitely, and everything I think within the LGBT community is heightened because there's less of us, as opposed to like, I guess even like straight people cheat all the fucking time. Why do you think there's such a high divorce rate? Like, and so many, like in the LGBT community, everything is heightened because there's less of us. And so it's more prominent, you know, like 1 out of 10 is more noticeable than 1 in 1,000. And so people like to, because I'd even say like less bi people even that are out, I'd say, than like just the gay people, or they're like, we're more vocal. I think like gay people are some of the most vocal people on the fucking planet. But and bi people aren't. And so like when it comes to like a bisexual cheating, they're like, oh, all bis cheat because 2 of the 100 that they know cheated. And it's like, I only know, it's like, I feel like most people only know like maybe even a handful of bisexual people. And if 1 in 5 cheat, as opposed to like the 6 and the 2,000 gay people that I know, I'm like, gay people don't cheat. Only like 6 people that I know have cheated. I know all of people, but I only know a few guys, and like 2 of them have cheated. So like all of them, it's all of them. See, it's a ratio, and it's the problem, like visualization. And I feel like there's not enough bi visualization. And
I completely agree.
Yeah.
Sorry, I feel like I just kind of talked in 3 circles, but here we are.
You talked some truth in 3 circles. And not to be like pretentious, but that's a logical fallacy. Like that's one of I forget how many logical fallacies are, but that's one of the main ones is when you say that like, use your personal experience of like, okay, well, I know these many people that have done this, therefore, and then use that to represent everybody, you know? Yeah. And that's how we have so many issues with like homophobia and even racism. Someone can say, well, I know this, you know, black person who beat someone else up, therefore all black people are, you know, beat people up. And same with gay people. I know this gay person who did this, and they use that to represent the whole. And I think it's honestly like the root of a lot of violence and hate.
It's the root of almost every issue, dude.
Yes.
That's right on it.
Yeah.
Generalization is horrible.
We're 4 gay men and we're here to solve the world's problems. Welcome to our channel.
So Sober Honest Fam asks, why are there so many incels? Do you guys know about this whole thing? Because I just found out about it.
Educate me.
There's this YouTuber named ContraPoints who made a whole documentary on incels, and I actually find this phenomena really interesting. Incel stands for involuntarily celibate, and it's more than like technically what it means is someone who identifies as an incel generally thinks that like they are so undesirable that no matter what they do, no one will ever date them, which is why they're involuntarily celibate. Yeah, and it's really interesting because most, like literally most of the mass shooters in America were part of this community. So it's a big like social discussion that's happening right now about incels. And I'm actually planning a video on this, so I don't want to say too much. No, I'm just kidding. But I think that it's an interesting conversation, and I'm glad that it's being talked about, because it's not just people, it's not just what it is by definition, it's also this whole subculture right now as well. Yeah, I don't want to have too many opinions about this. But
I'd be excited. I'd be interested to see your video on it.
Thanks. Well, it's gonna happen at some point.
What day? Tell me a day, a time.
I haven't filmed it yet, but I'm going to.
No, that's a very interesting topic. I didn't even know that was like a topic of discussion right now. Honestly.
I just found out about this literally like 2 weeks ago, but I will link you guys to the documentary because I think it's really, really interesting. And one of the thing that I want to talk about in the video is about like gay incels, because the conversation is usually about straight incels. But there is kind of like the sub community of gay incels, and so it's something I wanted to address. And I think that it's a really important thing to talk about, because it's this sub community where they all encourage like self-hate basically, and they reach these stages of like self-loathing, which is like propagated by not being lovable, that drives them to, you know, do these horrific crimes. And I think it has a big kind of you know, it's a big representation of the world of social media and the damage of, you know, these little kind of isolated echo chambers where everyone's like, yeah, you're unlovable and ugly, and that's because of society, which is basically what incels are. Yeah, it's heavy. It's a heavy topic.
Yeah, crazy.
Rejection leads to rage, says Daniel Rotella, which is essentially what this is. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which, I don't know. I'll play devil's advocate. I don't really understand, like, I don't know, rejection leads to rage. I think that's true in some forms and facets, but also, like, I feel like a lot of times nowadays rejection turns into unnecessary rage. I mean, like, I know, like, if you guys have followed me for a while, then you guys know, like, I've been stood up a lot, and I've been dumped by a fair number of dudes, and I've been rejected by my fair share of people. But if, like, for instance, like I say that I don't want to date somebody, suddenly like I'm some pretentious asshole, you know? And so I feel like a lot of times nowadays people just can't handle rejection. They don't know what it's, they don't know like what to do. It's just like, and I feel like they also feel, I feel like it seems like people like some people are less, face rejection less. Like, I don't know, I've been told like I'm attractive or I'm pretty or whatever. And so like suddenly like I don't face rejection from other people. I don't have to face these things because I am this certain type of way. And I just like, everyone faces rejection. Everybody is not successful in their pursuits of whatever it is they're looking for. And I don't know, I get upset when I think about like people tell me that I don't know what rejection's like, or that I like shouldn't reject people because like I like don't know what it's like. And it's like false, wrong.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. I think that some people feel like entitled to like not be rejected, or to like, you know, get like attention. And what a lot of what incels is about is that these people feel resentful of like conventional attraction, and they feel like they're not conventionally attractive, and society is forcing them to basically be single. And that's why they're always rejected. Whereas in reality, a lot of times these people are actually conventionally attractive. Like a lot of times these people are not ugly. They're just, you know, they just have this personality through this subculture that, you know, they're not, you know, sometimes they just don't know how to date, or they don't know how to be nice, or they weren't, you know, and it's usually more because of that they're actually being rejected than because of, you know, society's beauty standards, which by the way, society's beauty standards are bullshit, like, to be clear, and nobody's really ugly or beautiful. It's all fake, but you know.
Yeah, I mean they are bullshit, but it's also like, you know, just summing up what you've said, like, you know, it's always easier to blame something else than to like look at yourself, you know, than to look in the mirror. And if, you know, we've got this massive world of social media and all these, people vying for attention, it's a lot easier to blame that than to look in the mirror and be like, well, maybe I don't handle things the best way.
Yeah.
Or, however you need to do it. So.
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah, for sure.
All right. I'm going to say let's take on like one more bigger topic because we've almost been online for 2 hours.
This always happens.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm calling it this time. Like I'll run it instead of getting like 3 hours in and being like, fuck.
All right. Final calls for questions, folks.
Okay, we'll do
Do
one
a good
more.
one.
Hit it.
I hope none of y'all feel rejected if your question's not picked.
God.
Level 1 videographer says, I think it massively ties into the need for a conversation around mental health and improved resources and role models for people on how to process their emotions in a healthy way. And I think that's really true. And he says, especially guys here as well, which I think, I think it's really relevant. Yeah, I agree. Nothing to add, but good comment.
No, yeah. I mean, I'll add, well, I don't know if there's like another question that's going to pop up, but like mental health has always been like my biggest like talking point, just simply because like I know like mentally, like it's very like weird to say, but like I am very mentally unhealthy. Like I know I am mentally unwell. Like I know this about myself. And this is something I'm very okay with. And this is something that I'm like working on being better at. Like I suffer from anxiety, I suffer from depression, I suffer from a lot of previous trauma and abuse and da 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 da. And it doesn't seem like it. And it's something that like I think we've like grown up in a world where we've been told to kind of hide it, to bury it, to like not show it, to be stronger, to be okay, and to be happy, and blah, 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 blah. And mental health, just, I can never say, it's never talked about enough. People are never, like because vulnerability is just very difficult in general, I think, and especially in today's society and culture with online media, because when you're vulnerable, people strike. That's just the fact. And that's something that I had to learn very early on. And it's just, no one wants to be vulnerable. Nobody wants to talk about things. And so again, coming back to the whole talking point of like, when you don't talk about something, it can't be helped. It can't progress. It can't go further. And so like, that's why I don't think there's like as much improved resources. And I don't think there's like, there needs to be like more role models. There needs to be more people talking about it. And that's why people think it's so weird when I talk about like Demi Lovato being one of my favorite celebrities, is just because she talks about very heavy mental issues that she's had years, and mental problems that she's had, and like she just almost OD'd, like it was either earlier this year or last year, and it was crazy because like she's like an extremely famous woman, she's super body positive, but she still suffers from a lot of mental illness, and like even when she talks about it, like people still don't think that she goes through it and don't think that she suffers from it. And I just think if more people like her opened up about personal experiences like that, because I know like once you get on any public platform, once you become like, once you have some type of followers or fan base, like you very much like you face, I feel like, a magnitude of whatever it is that's going on inside you, because other people point it out very, very personally.
Well, I will agree and disagree. So, of course, I do think it is something that needs to be talked about, and it's very important to talk about that. But like, look at it 10 years ago compared to now. Like, it's not perfect. Nothing's ever going to be perfect, but it's so much more. Like, talking about that, you're going to get a lot more support than you are going to get hate. And then, but you're also going to, go on Twitter and you're going to see a shit ton of hate. You're going to see people making memes about Demi Lovato and all of that and really like beating her down for it. But, also go on YouTube. There's tons of people talking about depression. Just type the word depression. There's tons of people doing it. And then a whole another thing about that is a lot of people, like, I'm just sticking to YouTube because it's easier to do that. A lot of people on YouTube will do certain things and they'll make their videos and they'll go about life, a certain way. And they'll be a little bit sad or something like that in their videos. And then other people will point out that they seem a certain way. They seem like they're depressed. They need to get help and stuff like that. And then that in turn makes them think. And then not too much later, they do come out with some sort of video about it, and that gets a discussion going. So I think the public, like you know, we're a bunch of royals. The public helps a lot, because you do. I mean, it's a good and bad thing. You know, social media is a good and bad thing, because you do have the trolls who are going to just hate on and shit on everything, but then you have a very large majority of good people, people with good intentions, who are going to maybe, I don't know, like, try to help you open up that discussion. And I think on YouTube, there's a lot of people talking about it. I think I love seeing this stuff, because it's important. I completely agree with that. I think it's completely important.
I think on the backside of that, though, like coming back to like people like pointing it out, and like sometimes it is helpful, but I also know from my experience, like it also can be very hurtful, because I've heard multiple times that I'm bipolar, just because one video I'll be like depressed, and the next video it's like, hey, I'm weird. And it's just, you know, and kind of depending on the mood for the video, things are different. And so I know that like bipolar runs in my family. My father's bipolar. I'm pretty sure both my brothers are bipolar. And but I'm not bipolar. I've never been diagnosed with bipolar, and I know I'm not bipolar. But repetitively over the course of my YouTube career, like multiple people have been like, you are bipolar. And it's just like, I don't like the diagnosis that other
But
people.
you know that those people don't know you in real life. You know that those people are not in your day-to-day life, and they see a very small section of your life. And so they really, you have to remember that their opinions don't always carry. They shouldn't always. They shouldn't always, because they do. And I'm a YouTuber too. I understand it. They shouldn't always carry very much weight in that sort of thing. But a lot of times, if somebody says something, it's going to get you to think for a second. And then you're going to be like, well, no. And like you said, like, no, I'm not. I know I'm not. I'm okay. But then there's also people who are going to be like, yeah, well, maybe I am a little bit sad. Maybe I am a little bit depressed. But those people who, you know, dude, they don't know you. They're not in your life. You can't really take much importance to that, which
I think like, I guess like the most important message from that is just that people, like, thinking before you post is always like an important thing. But just like repetitively, it's just like, it goes back to like the whole, like, if you tell someone the sky is pink enough, eventually they're gonna think that that color is pink.
Right.
It's just, if you hear it enough, at some point, like, it starts to become fact. It starts to become your reality, and that's what makes it so dangerous. And I think that's what makes it dangerous for people like YouTubers or anybody on some kind of public platform who has some kind of following. Just like when enough people start saying a certain thing, you don't want to think about it. You don't, like, for instance, like, I know I'm not bipolar, but hundreds of people telling me that I am bipolar automatically makes me notice it, makes me think about everything that I'm like, am I? Like, I don't know. Do I go to a doctor? Do I need to go get checked out? And it's just like, no. But it takes a lot of mental fortitude, and that's not something, like, for a long time, that kind of stuff got to me. People influenced me a lot, and it's taken me a long time to like not be influenced.
Yeah, and you just have to get to that. You have to either, okay, so you have choices. People are not going to change. That's always going to be on any social media platform. You're either going to not be able to handle it and you need to get off because it's only detrimental to yourself, or you're going to grow some thicker skin and you're going to be like with you, you're like, it's taken me a long time to really not, you know, give too much weight to that, or you're going to get to that point, and that's a great place to be also. So if it's really like, and I think we're all good with that, but there's other people who are, you know, they can't handle it, and maybe they shouldn't be on social media like this, you know, maybe it is more detrimental to them than it is helpful. And you really have, that's only, you're going to be able to decide that for yourself.
Yeah. I think that's one of the hardest things about being online and a content creator, is definitely like the comments. And there's definitely, like, I think when I first started, I was the same way. I would get influenced, and because you can't, a lot of times you just can't help it. If you get a comment, you stop and you think, and even no matter how sure you are of yourself, the thought enters your brain. And you know, it's one of the greatest places to get to in life when you can just be like, yeah, that's your comment, but I know who I am. I know who I am. And I'm good here. And I think that I'm getting to that place for sure, and I've made a lot of progress there. But it's still hard. Sometimes you still read something and you pause for a moment, and that moment fucks you up. So
that one negative comment is always going to stick out more than the 100 good ones.
100%. Yeah.
And that's I think like it's just like I think you'll always kind of pause. I don't know that I'm ever I don't pause, and I'm just like, oh
yeah.
Like
it's just about your coping, I guess.
Yeah.
How are you going to cope with it? Is the big question.
And also just the response of saying, I know who I am, and I'm not going to let this have power over me, which is so much easier said than done sometimes. But
sometimes topping that, sometimes going off on a random fucking person feels good, and you can do that.
Honestly, that is often my solution. If you go through my comments, there's way too many comments where I respond with like a paragraph. But it does sometimes when I get a comment that makes a totally inaccurate claim about my life or something that's just so wrong, I will sit down and I will respond with a paragraph, and it does make me feel better. I'm like, no, you're wrong. And oftentimes they won't respond,
It's something about that communication, I think, for yourself, like saying like yes, like no, like you like people who make off-base claims, especially like about videos, like they say the wildest shit. Like it's like they click through and like piece together like 3 words that were not.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, and sometimes like you do that and you're like, I don't know. It's like, do other people think this? And it's just that justification for yourself that you went back and said, like, this is not a fact that you just,
I'm usually pretty good at seeing the few comments that are from people who have clearly not watched all the video. And then those ones, I'm pretty good at just like throwing those ones off to the side. It's the ones that they've seen the whole thing. I can tell they've seen the whole thing, and they start saying things that maybe that wasn't what I intended, or that's not what I meant. And those are the ones that sort of bug me a lot more. And sometimes I have to say something. Sometimes I really just have to scroll past, Yeah.
Yeah. For sure.
Right.
But social media is fun.
Yeah.
It can be. All right. Do you guys want to keep going, or do you want to call it?
I'm probably gonna get off if y'all keep going because it's fun.
Okay.
So I gotta get going.
It's 9:20 in the UK, and I am tired, so I'm on that same page myself.
Awesome. Well, thank you everybody who stopped by. This live stream is going to stay up, unlike my other ones that I keep taking down. Video, so come back watch it if you want to. Tell your friends, spread it around, etc., etc. Thank you to all of my wonderful people coming.
Let's give a big shout out to Michael too, who has put this whole thing together. He put the one last year together as well. And he gathered everybody together, set the time, and we've almost all showed up.
If you guys
somebody either shows up super late, leave super early, or just can't make it. It happens.
Yeah.
Yes, huge shout out to Michael for making this all happen again.
If you guys enjoy watching all of us chat, you owe all of the credit to Michael for instigating this whole thing last year. So go give him some love.
And real quick, another thing. I'm sorry, Bradley. Somebody did point out in there that after you do your video on incels, you should do a live to further elaborate on it. And
that's a good idea. Yeah, I should. Also, I think they asked me when I was going to publish it, and the plan is not this Friday, but next Friday. But I don't want to say that and not stick to it. But that's the plan.
That's out there now, buddy.
Oh well.
All right. Make sure you go down in the description below and you follow everybody on the social medias. Make sure you go follow all of our channels. Subscribe to everybody because we do collaborations and stuff with each other a lot sometimes. Often together. So stop by, say hi, and thanks for coming, everybody.
All right. Thank you. Goodbye.
Have a good evening. Trap.
Bye.